This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Hindu.
The arrested whistleblowers are released after protesting against the appointment of a new Chief Information Commissioner.
I have no response to that because there is no truth in it. As simple as that.
A 25-year-old in Kanyakumari comes under the wheels of a cop's jeep that rams into his bike, but the police say it was his fault alone. Young ladies with mighty surnames paint the city white in a bid to make the slums of the city ever clean and evergreen. If you're living along the Chennai Metro's line, you're sitting on a gold mine. Property Gurus gives it a thumbs up for investment. And if there's anything that's worth more than a fat-paying corporate job, it's the beautiful game and an academy for the sport. Hello there and welcome to News Tonight. I'm Evelyn Matthew. A look at what's making news in the rest of the country as well. As the Home Minister asks not to read between the lines when he says Saffron terror, Digvijay Singh takes offence. The Pakistan team manager stands up for his men while the tainted trio are being questioned. They miss a friendly match tomorrow. Starting 7th of September, a 4-pack security backed by the army men to guard Shera and his games. And it's going up, up and away. Gold inches closer to the 19,500 rupee mark this festive season. Well, there was high drama outside the Raj Bhavan today. The state got its new Chief Information Commissioner as RTI activists cried foul. The man in the hot seat, none other than K. Shripati, who yesterday was the Chief Secretary of Tamil Nadu. Activists claim he has a bad track record where transparency is concerned. Ironical, they say, since the CIC's job is to ensure transparency in the system. Sam Daniel has more.
Tamil Nadu's new Chief Information Commissioner in charge of ensuring transparency. Till Tuesday, L.K. Shripati was the Chief Secretary, accused of blocking many RTI queries. But less than a day after his retirement came his new appointment, shrouded in secrecy, leading to protests like these outside the Chennai Raj Bhavan, even as the governor was swearing in Shripati. Activists say the selection of the top bureaucrat, seen as Chief Minister Karunanidhi's Man Friday, smacks of conflict of interest.
Tomorrow if an issue comes up where the person who appointed him comes up, obviously he'll be biased.
I have no response to that because there is no truth in it. As simple as that.
Days ago, opposition leader Jayalalitha alleged she was not given details of the candidates being considered, even though she was on the selection panel. The ruling DMK has said it only followed the precedent set by Amma. Clearly, the Information Commission is turning into a preserve of retired loyal bureaucrats. With 21 more information commissioners due for retirement in the next few months, now it's up to the government to make sure that this office does not get occupied by officers with old mindset. In Chennai, with camera person Edwin, Sam Daniel for NDTV.
Well, our executive editor Sanjay Pinto spoke to Advocate Sudha Ramalingam and discussed the reasons as to why there was a protest today by the RTI activists and some of the exemptions in the RTI Act.
This post is meant to actually ensure transparency, but this is in fact all the information that was put out in the public domain, at least to the media, that it says swearing in of the Chief Information Commissioner of Tamil Nadu, no name mentioned. Was this to keep RTI activists and people like you at bay?
Yes, this shows that how intransparent the state is. The very act which speaks about transparency and good governance is going to be at the hands of a man whose name also was not published by the state. And
are you saying, ma'am, procedurally that there was a flaw there, that because in that panel, again, the Chief Minister, the leader of the opposition in this case, Ms. Jayalalitha, AIDMK General Secretary, also one
really
minister
not
nominated.
Consulted.
She was not. She said she was not consulted. Also, is it mandatory for her to sign the file? I mean, she didn't participate in the meeting.
See, the entire thing is they could always say there is a majority because there are 3 persons in the panel and 2 would have signed.
But even then, should you go through the motions, ma'am? Does the Act specify that?
In spirit, it should have been done. But on paper, when there is a majority, they would always say it is already done by a majority.
To be fair, I mean, to make this balanced, what exactly is the principal objection of RTI activists of these people who are leading these protests against Mr. Sripati, because otherwise he has a fairly clean record, many would say.
It's definitely not against one single individual per
because
se.
they are opposed,
of course, Mr.
Sripati
Sripati also has ensured that the state is not transparent. He also worked towards non-disclosure of the assets of the IAS and IPS officers, so forth, so on and so forth. But the entire exercise is not against one single individual, namely Mr. Sripati or anyone. The entire exercise which the RTI activists are now talking about is that there should be a fair manner of calling for applications.
There are two parts to this as we see it. One is the manner in which he was appointed, which this particular individual officer was appointed.
Yes.
And secondly, you're saying also the track record of this officer when it comes to RTI applications. But was he really going by the book in that sense? Because the RTI itself, if you look at the Act, I mean, you have section 8 there, where there are exemptions rather, like for instance, the Directorate of Vigilance and Anti-Corruption. Of course, current cases under investigation information cannot be disclosed. Do these clauses, does section 8 of the Act actually militate against the rest of the other provisions of the Act itself, ma'am?
Yes, definitely. When you are talking about real transparency and against the Official Secrets Act itself, a man who has till yesterday been part of the system which was secretively ensuring that the Official Secrets Act will be at the forerunner and not the RTI, cannot now be given the power of leading a transparent organization.
Are we prejudging Mr. Sripati's performance as CIC?
Definitely not prejudging the issue. It is a case where it is prima facie not proper to appoint a retired chief secretary who was a chief secretary till yesterday to adorn this post today. And there are so many other people. Does the state say that there are no other qualified persons?
It's not just
to
officers,
adorn
even an RTI activist can be appointed.
Yes, definitely.
You can be appointed too as a...
Don't want to be one. That's a different matter.
But the law provides for that. Anybody, any walk of life. A journalist can be appointed, a lawyer can be appointed.
Anyone could be appointed, and there should be some sort of transparency and also show a credibility. People should also feel, here is a person to whom I can go, I can approach. This is not a farce. What has happened is a farce. It is also something, the state seems to be appointing their spokesperson to lead an organization which is going to ask questions against the state.
So we are making a mockery of the RTI Act in a sense.
Definitely.
Also, ma'am, this exemption clause, most people, the common viewers who will be watching this bulletin, this discussion, will wonder, I mean, certain departments, the so-called sensitive departments, as long as national security is not compromised in any way, why should in the first place we have an exemption clause in a statute like the Right to Information Act? Isn't an exemption clause an oxymoron, ma'am?
Definitely. See, the entire thing is state wants to keep itself close. It doesn't want to reveal any information. It was after decades of struggle that we got this RTA itself. The act to come into to the table of the parliament itself to become an act, it took decades together. And what has happened is they wanted to ensure that there are more exceptions than the rules. And there was also a move to amend the RTI Act. NDTV was a forerunner in ensuring that such amendments do not take place at all. But what actually happens is the state at some point by some means or the other tries to deprive people of their information more because they do not want to be exposed.
All right.
Well, in a case that perhaps looks like that of twisting facts to protect those meant to uphold the law, a 25-year-old man, Vinod Kumar, was caught below the wheels of a jeep today that belonged to the Superintendent of Police of Kanyakumari. The vehicle had hit Vinod's bike on the Bengaluru-Kanyakumari National Highway. The vehicles were coming in from Kanyakumari and were diverted to another track due to repair works. But now, in an apparent cover-up, the police have registered a case against the victim. The cops claim that the victim was on the wrong side, forgetting the track had been made two-way. And our executive editor Sanjay Pinto asked Advocate Sudha Ramalingam if the case would have been the same had it been the common man on both the sides.
Prima facie, it shows that there must have been a rash and negligent act on the part of the four-wheel driver.
But normally, ma'am, most people will agree that in our country, it's always the bigger vehicle that's construed to be the offender and the smaller vehicle, even if it's a darting cyclist, the smaller vehicle is always considered to be the victim.
Yes.
So, again, are we sort of prejudging this case? What do you think?
No, I think it's very obvious that the speeding four-wheeler has hit the two-wheeler which was on the right track. The
do you think, ma'am, if you're a fair officer, should you have also asked for an investigation into the role of the driver? Should the driver, the driver, assuming that it was a driver who was driving the jeep and not the SP himself, the driver should have been sent for a, his blood sample should have been taken and sent?
Definitely.
And should a case have also been registered against the driver of the jeep?
Definitely, they should have registered a case against the four-wheeler.
If it had happened to a common man,
yes,
what would have happened in this case?
They would definitely have registered a case
against both parties.
Yes, or definitely it would have been against the driver of the four-wheeler, because he has crossed the central line and he has also hit the other party head on. So it's obvious that it is the four-wheeler's driver who has committed a prima facie rash and negligent act, and rash and negligent driving today is a cognizable offence, non-bailable offence, and if it was an ordinary citizen, he would be behind the bars as on date and would be seeking for bail. Now what happens here? An FIR is registered against a deceased, and so there is nobody who is going to be answering for this offence.
Now in other news, being clean comes at a cost. At least that's what a few activists believe. Incentives are observed to be all that slum dwellers need to keep their surroundings clean. The granddaughters-in-law of Tamil Nadu's chief minister and the state governor went to a slum today to show the dwellers why it was so important to be clean.
It was an unusual cleanliness drive at this slum in Pallavanagar in Chennai. The young women cleaning the walls are relatives of Chief Minister Karunanidhi and Governor Surjit Singh Barnala.
I think from the students' enthusiasm, and they've all voluntarily come here and they're doing this. So I think I've learned a lot from what they have been doing here.
People are very receptive and they want a change. There's a lot of mosquitoes here, and that comes due to the waste that's lying around. So they also want a clean place, and with this little boost, I think they're going to maintain it also.
The initiative, named Turning Litter to Glitter in just 1 hour, was organized by Exnora. About 60 school students took part in the drive. They swept the streets and distributed CFL bulbs to encourage slum dwellers to save electricity. Exnora has also set up a special branch to ensure the effort continues.
They have to go a long way, but many things happen because of their own acts of neglect. And they need motivation, and they need facilitation, they need a system. That's all we do here. Already we've been working here for quite some time.
While some public walls and roads at the Pallavanagar looked clean, the next question was, for how long? Well, the answer to this remains with the activists in this rare cleanliness drive. In Chennai, Pratiksha Ramkumar for NDTV Hindu.
Now, if you're one of the lucky ones to own a house near any of the areas where the Chennai Metro is coming up, there's every reason to rejoice. Realty experts suggest that the property prices in these areas are all set for a substantial rise, making it an excellent investment option. Chennai's real estate landscape is buzzing with anticipation and suppressed excitement. With the metro rail due to chug into the city of Chennai, the realty prices are expected to climb substantially. Experts reveal that properties in proximity to the metro corridor will be the biggest beneficiaries. They believe that the metro's attraction is expected to translate into a heavier price tag.
I think the middle class and upper middle class will have a real opportunity to invest and make money out of the metro network when it starts flowing more towards GST Road, Old Mahabalipuram Road, maybe westwards towards Sri Perumbudur.
Experts argue that a metro station is a completely different animal from a regular commercial building. Offering multiple opportunities for exploitation of space, the stations are likely to develop into landmarks themselves, adding to the value of the nearby properties. Realty experts also point at quality of infrastructure as a principal driver for demand-fueled value appreciation.
Internationally, what we have seen is a good metro railway station could have residential on top, could have commercial on top, could have retail malls, could have healthcare, could have hospitality. So all this can be built around one metro rail station. So this is going to become a key decision driver going forward in choice of a location.
However, to make this a win-win situation for all stakeholders, the onus, according to experts now, lies on the government to come good on its promise of developing an integrated transport system. In Chennai, with Ashmit Kumar, Evelyn Matthew for NDTV Hindu. Now, it's quite common to come across the term printing error, small mistake, you might say. But not every printing mistake by a newspaper leads to someone to commit suicide. Well, that's exactly what happened a few years ago when a Tamil evening newspaper published +2 results with errors, and a young student, believing that he had failed his exams, killed himself. But after all these years and some relief for his parents, the State Consumer Commission ordered relief and held the newspaper liable for the loss of their son's life.
Karuppaya's son from Usilampatti near Madurai bought a special edition of a Tamil evening newspaper carrying +2 results a few years ago. When he didn't find his registration number on its sheets, the boy believed he had failed his exams and decided to end his life. Karuppaya approached the Madurai District Consumer Forum and got a relief of 10,000 rupees to be paid by the newspaper which was responsible for his son's death.
This case relates to wrongful publication of result in the evening paper. It is really unfortunate that a young boy had taken such an extreme step of committing suicide.
The evening newspaper went on to the State Consumer Commission against the verdict of the District Forum. But the State Commission dismissed the appeal and in fact enhanced the compensation to 25,000 rupees.
It has been a clear message to the media and other person that they should cautiously approach while reporting the results and other things to the public.
A small mistake has cost a life. The State Consumer Commission has talked of the need for a responsible media in its judgment in Chennai Peer Mohammed NDTV Hindu.
Well, still ahead on the bulletin, the lawyer in our Home Minister talks patents while defending his remarks. And it's perhaps waka waka time once again. Up on the other side, meet a young lass who lives her passion.